Everybody in the film industry was shocked to hear of Dianne Keaton's death on October 11, 2025. After a long struggle with her diseases, she left alone. Al Pacino, her on-screen companion of 15 years, startled the audience with his reaction, which shocked the world even more than her death. Al Pacino sobbed silently as he announced, "I will regret for the rest of my life not marrying Dianne. She was the greatest love of my life." He recalled how, when Dianne had once urged, "Marry me or we break up," Al Pacino had instead chosen to walk away. Furthermore, the weight of that remorse is now too much to bear, staying away from the funeral. However, Pacino made the conscious decision to hold Dianne in his heart and never let go of any recollection of her, including vintage images, handwritten letters, and humble presents. Like every memento served as a constant reminder that Dianne was never really gone. Describe the tragic events that took place during Dianne's funeral. Those who came to pay their last respects. View the video to discover the answer. Sunshine filtered through towering trees and onto the road leading up to the estate that Dianne Keaton once referred to as a private sanctuary of fantasy on a mild and beautiful morning in Los Angeles on October 11, 2025. Just the sound of the wind and birdsong filled the highways does. However, an unforeseen disrupted that serenity on the inside. At 8:08 a.m., someone made a quick call to the emergency dispatch. "Someone is down." Just 3 icy, heavy words, no more. Without even realizing it, Rescue 19 was about to enter the mansion of one of America's most famed film stars. There was no odd noise and the iron gate was still locked when the paramedics came. They were escorted inside by a woman who had opened the door. The room that Dianne Keaton had used to read scripts and write in her notebook was found lit up, and she was found motionless. Her surroundings were tidy. No indications of any kind of disruption or dropped items. The only sound was the dense stillness that accompanied her departure. Dianne had driven along this tree-lined boulevard ad nauseum, and they whisked her away along it. The ambulance drove away quietly, as if it were taking the delicate dawn tranquilly into consideration. The news of Dianne Keaton's death at age 79 broke just hours later. Despite the rapid dissemination of the news, the specifics of her terminal illness remained confidential. Her family acknowledged her rapid deterioration in health but would not say why. Reporters and fans started to put together pieces of the puzzle in the days that followed. Dianne had previously discussed her struggles with skin cancer, food issues, and her recent fragile appearance. However, there was no proof that any of these had any bearing on her last morning. Like sunlight glinting through her mansion's foliage, every detail remained hazy, irreparably shattered yet brilliant all the same, that rocked Hollywood. Relatives and friends of Dianne, including Woody Allen and Nancy Meyers, paid tribute to her by sharing stories of her unforgettable grin. There was an aura of effortless grace about her as she wore a slightly tilted fedora atop her hair. But despite all the acclaim, something was missing. When she fell, who saw it first? Can you tell me who got the 911 call? How could everything happen so suddenly and without a sound? As of this now, no one knows for sure. But we'll get to Dianne's sicknesses later on in the film. Let us now attend the funeral of Dianne Keaton, where a legend was laid to rest. Our only information is that Dianne Keaton's funeral was held not long after that. A little garden on the water's edge was chosen by the family. The old olive trees swayed in the breeze, as if nature had remembered the secret vow Dianne had written down in her memoir. This tranquil nook, away from the Hollywood limelight she had mastered but never allowed to define her, was chosen by her family, which included her 2 adopted children, Dexter and Duke. The film industry took a time to remember the woman who had changed the way people saw strength and comedy on October 14, 2025, just 3 days after she passed away. Wordless sadness filled the air as the first visitors cautiously passed through the rusty gate. Bea Midler, Dianne's friend, came first, her gray scarf masking her tear-stained cheeks. As the First Wives Club laughed, she took hold of Carol Bayer Sager's hand. Sager had whispered to Dianne as she lay dying. She was always genuine and never put on an act. Dianne, with that playful grin, was everything she was. Adjacent to plain white flowers, they took their seats in the front row. Instead of bright flowers, a few sprigs of lavender from Dianne's former garden, representing the purity she sought throughout her life. The tune from Annie Hall was played subtly by an ancient piano. There was no symphony orchestra. I felt my spirit laugh out loud at the music Dianne had played for me. At its core, the ritual revolved around the family. In the midst of the briny ocean wind, a cozy circle. Standing first was Dexter, the daughter who was 29 years old and had eyes similar to her mother's. Her voice was shaking but determined. Being a comedian is a lesson Mom instilled in us. Occasionally awkward, occasionally uncomfortable, yet consistently deserving of praise. Her son Duke, who was 25 years old, knelt down next to her and held her hand as he reminisced about the days when Dianne would wear strange hats and giggle with her golden retriever, Reggie. They kept quiet and told anecdotes instead of crying, exactly how Dianne took them in when she was 55 years old. The way she transformed the house into a haven for books and unwritten screenplays. She wished for this, a modest ceremony where loved ones might share private vows away from prying eyes. Late and looking like he stepped out of an old film, Woody Allen's pale visage was dwarfed by the basic wooden chairs as he arrived. with an unlit cigarette in his palm. The guy who co-created the 1978 Oscar-winning masterpiece Annie Hall with Diane sat alone. He had a horse-arrow voice when he was asked to talk. When it came to originality, Diane was unmatched. Rather than acting, she embodied the kind of self-deprecating humor that is characteristic of geniuses. Everyone around them nodded, thinking back on the beautiful yet complicated bond they shared. Diane Keaton was depicted in films like as Sleeper in Manhattan as a fearless actress who never shied away from breaking the mold. No debate here, just a respectful homage to a woman who made us laugh even when we were scared. Francis Ford Coppola, who originally cast Diane as Kay, was also there. Adams in the 3 Godfather films, making a grand entrance as if to claim the era's storied past. He sat down after embracing his close colleague Robert De Niro. In a brief eulogy, Coppola praised Diane's boundless talent, his friendly voice resonating through the plain microphone. Diane not only performed but also encouraged everyone, converting heartbreaking sequences into moments of humanity, and De Niro, with his eyes red, adding, "I am deeply saddened and shocked. I cherished her, a kind woman in a chaotic world." They spoke of long nights on location. Silently, as if viewing a classic picture for the very last time, the atmosphere thickened as all ears listened. Reese Witherspoon and Goldie Hawn, members of the following generation, were also present. They carried wildflowers from the fields that Diane had cherished. Diane had tutored Witherspoon in Wildflower when she was a teenager, and now her voice was stifled. "We no longer see women on television because of her. Very perceptive, entertaining, and fresh." Whispering to Jane Fonda, H hugged her close while smiling sadly. He recalled how Diane, with her eccentric style and everyday anecdotes, was the life of the book club parties. From his seat in the back row, Michael Douglas expressed his deepest condolences for the loss while hailing Diane as a legendary figure. The event shifted to a tribute to her legacy as the sun dipped below the horizon. A big screen displayed videos. Diane with a radiant smile, starring with Jack Nicholson in Something's Gotta Give. Diane playing the role of a nurturing mother. Embraces Steve Martin in Father of the Bride. The audience was reminded of her trip in every moment. From a young woman in Santa Ana who aspired to be an actress on Broadway to a director, mother, and silent champion for mental health, she has gone through remarkable roles. Sitting silently, Leonardo DiCaprio said something to a friend. It was a privilege to collaborate with her because she was really unique. There weren't any rock anthems, only soft piano notes that led people to contemplation, where feelings of loss and thankfulness mingled. But of all those who paid respect to Diane, her ex-lover Al Pacino was the most remarkable. He had been her soulmate and a lifelong co-worker. Friends said that Pacino's grief at Keaton's death was very profound and haunting when he heard the news. Their romance started in 1971 while Keaton was filming The Godfather, in which she portrayed Kay. Both Pacino and Adams played Michael Corleone. Despite the highs and lows, those years spent together changed him forever. Regret has now taken center stage as the dominant feeling. According to his closest associates, he broke down in tears upon hearing the news. With shaky hands, he clutched the phone. He couldn't comprehend the idea that the woman he had cherished so much and spent his youth cherishing memories of was no longer with him. Hours passed as he sat silently, staring at the vintage photos spread out on the table. On set of The Godfather, Diane had a few hilarious moments. The ordinary joys of Santa Ana that Pacino preserved in albums, quietly perusing them again and time again. After Keaton's death, Pacino refrained from making any sort of public remark. But his closest friends found out that he was suffering from severe remorse and emotional pain because he had missed the chance to propose. "Either you marry me or we end our relationship." Keaton had said it was Pacino's decision to depart. Even more so today in the wake of her passing, he knows that chance was never again there. His friends said he would tell them, if it's destiny, it's never too late for a second chance. Now though, that chance has passed. Pacino felt remorse for both his own suffering and the loss of someone who had helped him find harmony in his life. He had previously admitted in interviews and memoirs, being with Diane was very much about a sense of peace and comfort. "I found a type of comfort that lets you feel and think with the world." Now, memories of her smiles, afternoons on set, and ordinary moments spent together have become the only treasures he keeps. Thus, Pacino skipped Diane's funeral. His friends informed him that he couldn't cross the gate due to the excruciating discomfort. He wished he could hold Diane in his heart and never let her memory go. He wished the funeral and the curious onlookers would leave Diane's legacy unblemished, so he could hold on to his cherished memories of her. Beyond any ceremony or departure, Pacino's mind remained filled with the image of Keaton, with her playful smile and generous spirit. After her passing, Pacino reminisced about the passionate love they shared in The Godfather Parts 2 and 3, poring over old photos. His best friend spilled the beans about his history of memory jolts. Memories of the years they spent together, from long days on set to the mundane yet magical moments that Keaton could make into something truly special, flood back quietly. "I will regret that unresolved love forever." He flipped through the pages of her ancient notebook, which included screenplays, brief notes scrawled in blue ink, and even scribbles about everyday life. Once when he saw Diane's remarks, he started crying. "Keep smiling no matter how bad things get." Diane had given him a silver bracelet for Christmas in 1975, and he likewise held on to it. Pacino seemed to relive her friendly, playful speech with every glance at it. Pacino gave a moving tribute to Keaton in 2017 when she received the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award. "Your love for me knows no bounds." His remarks now ring out as a tardy farewell, highlighting how Diane was more than a celebrity to him. She was his soulmate and the love of his life. She remains the same vibrant, unyielding, and whole person that Hollywood once adored in Pacino's heart. In her last days, Diane's health was exceedingly precarious, despite her famous and prosperous career. Diane Keaton shocked her friends and fans with her unexpected health decline in her final months. She battled bulimia and skin cancer. According to her medical history, she began to battle basal cell carcinoma at the age of 21, following in the footsteps of her aunt, father, and brother who had all been impacted by this genetic cancer. She became a staunch supporter of sun protection measures after enduring 2 surgeries to remove squamous cell carcinoma from her cheek about 2014. Friends worried that her weakness may have been exacerbated by long-term aftereffects because it has followed me my whole life. This was particularly true in her latter weeks when her body seemed incredibly delicate and frail. After meeting Keaton in Palm Springs, Carol Bayer-Sager recounted how her struggles with bulimia were just one more terrible chapter in her life. Her compulsive eating habits began in the 1970s, when she ingested up to 20,000 calories a day due to the pressure to lose weight for the Broadway musical Hair. "At my lowest point in life, I binged on fried chicken, French fries, and desserts before purging," a behavior she referred to as an addiction. Although she overcame it with the help of weekly therapy, she continued to identify as a recovering addict. The condition did not manifest itself again in public, but it had a profound psychological impact and made her retreat inside herself early in her career. Her social circle hypothesized that her weakened mental state may have contributed to her accelerated aging process. The abrupt deterioration shocked many in her vicinity as it became apparent in the last months of 2025. When Keaton's close friend Carol Bayer-Sager met her in Palm Springs following the wildfires in January 2025, she was shocked to realize that she was abnormally skinny. She appeared somewhat fragile, yet her smile and sense of humor remained unwavering. She had also stopped doing things that she enjoyed, including going for walks every day with her golden retriever Reggie, which was observed by others. The final Instagram post she made just weeks before she died away. Diane liked it when nobody made a big deal, according to an unnamed acquaintance of hers. As though she didn't want us to be concerned, she kept it a secret. The infrequency with which Keaton appeared started to raise red flags for her fans. According to an article in an entertainment news source, Diane appeared fatigued, pallid, and noticeably thinner than previously. Her weird behavior continued in March 2025 when she decided to sell her dream house in Los Angeles for $29 million. She wrote a book on her life in this house she had lived in since 2017 and how important it was for her family's stability and her love of architecture. Because of the sale, her friends thought she was acting quite differently, as if she had changed her ways due to her health or mental condition. That was her favorite spot. She had always promised Dexter and Duke that they would spend eternity there. She may have felt her body deteriorating but decided to confront it alone, according to a source who shared this decision and her decreased public appearances. Her house was responded to by the Los Angeles Fire Department at 8:88 a.m. on the morning of October 11th. In the event of a medical emergency, despite being taken to the hospital, she did not make it. At the age of 79, Diane Keaton died on October 11, 2025 in Los Angeles. The loss of her was devastating to her legion of admirers and colleagues in the film business. Her indelible performances and boundless support for the arts will ensure her place in history. Furthermore, Diane Keaton had passionate relationships with other outstanding men, like Woody Allen and Warren Beatty, but she never got married. This mystery has persisted for a long time. She remained single since her nearly 15-year love affair with Al Pacino had a deep impression haunted her. It was as if her heart had been completely given to one person and could not open again in the twilight of her life when she passed away on October 11, 25, because of the intense yet tragic connection with Pacino, which not only shaped her heart but also became the reason she denied propositions. Memories and tales of this love story continue to reverberate like an unfinished song. Initially, they crossed paths in 1971 while filming The Godfather, when Keaton, then a budding Broadway star, played Kay Michael Corley's patient wife Adams, played by Pacino. Pacino, a man of insane good looks and fairy vitality, enchanted Keaton at first sight. She had previously stated that Pacino meant the world to her. There were long nights of talking and intensely quiet periods on set. Their relationship blossomed on set of The Godfather Parted Doe to 1974, when they discovered common ground via their shared passion for art and ambition. As if Hollywood were only a stage for their own love tale, they walked hand in hand across New York City. Their rocky romance lasted from the 70s into the 80s, like scenes reshot for perfection. It was a passionate dance intercut with breakups and reconciliations. From quietly sitting at his side while he analyzed Shakespeare to smiling at his jokes, Keaton's open heart truly adored Pacino. Pacino gave happiness and sadness with his carefree personality and obsessions with his work. He is a misplaced genius, and I yearn to accompany him. It was friends who eventually made public an unpublished letter she had written. But she also longed for a lasting promise, something Pacino couldn't give her, because of her newfound independence. Keaton started fantasizing about having a family and a place to call home during that time, away from the limelight and stage hat. She wished Pacino would help her realize her goal of a house filled with children's laughter in 2017, when she was a teenager. Despite his profound love for her, Pacino was preoccupied with his work and his freedom of movement. As they sat by the fire in the evenings, Keaton would gently take his hand and whisper questions about their future, to which he would respond with hugs and empty assurances. "He loves me, I know, but he can belong to no one," she said in A Close Friend, her voice betraying her regrets. She carried those memories with her like a pleasant scar that would never fully heal. Their romance reached its pinnacle in 1990 while filming The Godfather Part 3. They reprised their roles as Michael and Kay in the last film. Keaton felt like she was reliving their love in the emotionally charged sequences that filled the set. She wished Pacino would take this opportunity to grow and change so they could start a new chapter in their lives. When she made her ultimatum clear, "Marry me or we're breaking up," I was shocked. Despite his discomfort, Pacino decided to leave. "My work consumed me and I was too young to help." A close buddy of his eventually told the Daily Mail the truth. Keaton ended the relationship, her heart broken but her spirit strong. There was nothing else in her life besides her love for him, she wrote in her journal. Friends disclosed this line upon her passing. Not only did Keaton's relationship come to an end in a 1990 split, but it also marked a turning point in her decision to be single. She never let anyone else into her heart as much as Pacino. She turned down every engagement and short romance that guys offered her. "No one can ever make up for the loss of my beloved Al," once she confided in a buddy. Even though her love for Pacino was intense, it haunted her not because she lost him, but because she gave her everything for a dream that was never fully realized. It induced a dread of commitment in her. Regrettably, those years were unmatched by any other love. Keaton sought comfort in motherhood rather than marriage. She welcomed Dexter and Duke into her home at the age of 50 and transformed it into a heaven of literature, movies, and joy. In an interview with The Guardian published in 2019, she stated, "I don't need a man to feel complete. I have my children, and that's my greatest love." However, friends remarked that she somehow still carried Pacino's shadow, not with resentment but as a lovely but terrible memory. There was a lingering sense of those days in the eccentric attire, wide-brimmed hats, and her infectious laughter as she reminisced about The Godfather. It is said that Diane left an enormous estate worth up to $100 million when she passed away. Her wealth came from a variety of sources, including her legendary roles in films like The Godfather, 1977, and Something's Gotta Give, as well as her investments in and renovations of Southern California mansions. To safeguard her two adopted children and pay attention to the principles she held dear, Keaton meticulously organized the private and considerate distribution of her fortune, as she was a lifelong single lady who never wed. This was mostly accomplished through a family trust. Keaton amassed millions in her film career from both box office successes and royalties on her legendary works. In addition to directing and producing films, she also wrote books, such as her memoir Then Again 2011, the 2017 interior design book The House That Pinterest Built. But real estate was still her strong suit, and she became known as a Los Angeles high-end house flipper. Just months before she passed away in 2025, she offered the Brentwood house she had bought in 2009 for $4.7 million for $28.9 million after transforming it into an architectural marvel. Other deals in the Palisades and Beverly Hills, including the one where Madonna's impeccable taste and financial sense were on display when she bought a mansion for $6.5 million Dorina in 1997 and made tens of millions of dollars. In addition to stocks, cash, and tangible assets like artwork, photographs, and vintage furniture made up Keaton's varied portfolio. She was a meticulous asset manager with the help of her legal advisor and led a frugal life, avoiding unnecessary luxury. Shortly after adopting Dexter and Duke in the 1990s and 2000s, she set up a family trust, and there were no rumors of debt or money problems. In respect for her need for anonymity, this trust made sure her estate was distributed outside of public court. Keaton bequeathed the majority of her assets to her two adopted sons, Duke and Dexter, whom she referred to as her greatest love. Duke continued his musical career with his mom's encouragement, and Dexter, a private resident and veterinary technology graduate, posted online tributes to his mom. Keaton left a modest amount of her estate to charitable organizations in addition to her family. Family, close friends, and other famous co-workers attended Diane Keaton's burial, which was held in a solemn and personal setting. From her infectious smile and magnetic personality to her strength in the face of illness, many people will remember her fondly. In loving homage to Keaton, colleagues paid tribute to her huge impact on American art and entertainment. Condolences, flowers, and anecdotes of her inspirational life adorned the funeral area, a testament to the reverence and love that people had for this iconic actress. Linda Keaton was the only woman I ever wanted to marry, according to Al Pacino, her longtime lover. In your opinion, how good is Dianne Keaton? Symbolic of both art and character, this woman is both powerful and vulnerable. Give your opinion. Become a subscriber to access additional content including renowned movie actors and actresses. Additionally, we appreciate you being here today as we pay tribute to Dianne Keaton.